I got so pumped because he was the first person who I actually walked up to and asked for a photo on that day that I forgot totally that I was shooting on a 100mm. Hello photographer, welcome back to my channel. It's Belinda and this is where we talk all about photography, from inspiration to camera techniques to editing skills so that you could take better photos. So this week I am back with another point of view video, this time featuring London during UK's second national lockdown because of COVID. Now this series of images that I took is going to have a documentary twist to it, and documentary photography is something that I have been experimenting for quite a while now. Technically, both documentary photos and street photos can happen on streets apparently, but they do have a different angle and they come from a very different place. And so in this video, I'm trying to strike a balance between shooting street photography for a documentary purpose, if that makes sense. And this time I'm changing up my lens a bit. I usually shoot a lot on my 50mm 1.8, otherwise known as a nifty 50. I've done a lot of videos on that, but this time I'm shooting on a 100mm prime lens. It goes down to f2, I believe. I'm thinking that if I was just gonna do an experiment anyway, I might as well try to change up my lens a bit so that there is going to be a new perspective to how I see things. So without further ado, let's dive right in. I was walking along Oxford Street when I spotted two kids riding on their bikes. And so after a bit of mental calculation, I knelt down and took their photo. I took a few more shots as they drove past. I didn't want to hold my camera up straight from the beginning because it would have been too obvious, but the process was fun. As I scrolled through my shots, I realized that now that I'm switching into a 100mm vision, the timings in my street photography change. Documentary photography, which is a genre that I'm currently experimenting with, is a very different sphere of photography. Photography is generally understood to be the production of aesthetically pleasing images, but to capture primarily based on a photo's documentary value, one must learn to see using a different eye. It took me a while to learn that photographs can be good because of the intrinsic value of what is being captured, regardless of the techniques. It is not so much about the visual pleasure. Here, I thought these blue signs on the buses requiring passengers to wear a face covering was quite an iconic detail around the city during the COVID period. I almost missed this shot because this was not aesthetic by any means, but I reminded myself in time that good photos are not necessarily pretty photos, and so I took the shot. Speaking of the lockdown, I spot this D&G store with their gates lowered with no one inside. I crossed the road to get ready for the shot on my 100mm. This is such a spectacle, I thought, and this is really the epitome of how bad COVID has hit the economy. So I had this shot in my head that I was about to shoot, where the gates are shot flat on as a passerby walks past. It took some experimenting though to work out that I actually want a completely level shot. So I moved myself again directly opposite to the store and I set the zone focus to the middle part of the frame. A lady walked into the frame from the right and then I took a few shots. There was this young couple which also walked into the frame from the left, and so I took a few shots of them as well. But then in the end I decided that this location looks the best with only one lone subject, and so in the end I chose the first pick over the rest. When you scrape everything on the surface of the society that are less of a necessity for our everyday survival, what you have left, aka the people who must still go ahead and work on location currently, is what holds our lives, our economies, and our social order together. Delivery men therefore became a subject of interest for me, particularly in this instance. The first one I came across was a FedEx deliverer who was probably sorting out the labels for his boxes. Just around the corner there was a DHL van, but there was no one in it when I came across it. I looked around to check where the delivery person might be, and I saw that he was inside a jewelry store. I waited for quite a while. I'm sure that he saw me, but I stood there and I waited until he was done, finally left the shop and went for it and started shooting.
Yeah, I was waiting because I wanted to take pictures of London, of streets, yeah. Cool. You want me to take some more pictures? You mind? Cool, thanks so much. just do your stuff.
I got so pumped because he was the first person who I actually walked up to and asked for a photo on that day that I forgot totally that I was shooting on a 100mm rather than a 50mm. So I got too close and I had to back off a bit more to work out the framing. I'm so glad that I took his photo. Hopefully delivery men will never have to work in masks ever again once all of this is over.
Cool, thanks a lot. Cheers.
My utmost respect goes to these people. Having to work with a mask on is a lot, and they're risking their lives so that the rest of us could stay safe. I walked past a fountain in the center of Piccadilly Circus and immediately saw this woman who was staring into the void with her mask on. I'm not sure what is causing this apprehension on her face, but this expression intrigued me. I got curious and so I inched closer up to photograph her. Right next to her was a family of 3 eating McDonald's, or I believe so, on the stairs. Moments like these are rather hard to come by in London, especially during the lockdown. I mean, why would I eat fries with my family on these stairs? This is always my go-to spot for street photos, especially when uninspired, because people do crazy things here. Even on a day during the lockdown, you almost always find inspiration because this place breathes life. Takeaway delivery services are literally everywhere now. The city seems to be constantly hungry and ordering takeaway. Based on what I've seen, Chinese takeaways are especially popular, and so Chinese restaurants are a great place to go if you want to shoot some photos of delivery men collecting the orders. Taking a stroll down Chinatown, I thought I haven't really caught people buying groceries in their masks. Something that I have been doing quite a lot myself lately, so just at this moment I saw this Indian couple walking along the streets with masks on, holding with them bags of groceries, and so I knelt down and I took their photo. Pretty standard. I saw from a distance a group of people who looked like uni students. They were waiting outside a Vietnamese restaurant for their takeaway, and I thought this would make a great record of the social distancing, lockdown mode of living. So I took shots, shamelessly ignoring the fact that they actually saw me, and I kept snapping until I felt ashamed of myself. Well, jokes. The first shot actually turned out to be the best anyways. On the opposite corner, 2 ladies were sat on the outside of the restaurant, eating and talking happily. I'm not sure if this is entirely compliant with the rules, but maybe there is some leeway. So this is indeed a rare sighting in London, and so I took a shot of them eating openly. On another street in Chinatown, I found 2 idle restaurant waiters outside of a closed-down restaurant. One of them were smoking, and I thought that communicates pretty well what it's like to be in the F&B industry now in London. The reflections in the window were an afterthought, but it played a part in showing the emptiness in the area. Bikers wearing shocking, fluorescent-colored blazers carrying a delivery box on their bikes can be seen everywhere, but I bet Chinatown has the most of them. Here is another delivery man biking into Chinatown, probably ready to pick up some takeaway boxes. Now, because the series of photos are mainly for documentary and record purposes, that is why I don't feel like there's a need to do too much of an editing in the post-processing. And so most of the edits I did were just brightness adjustments, cropping, so just really fundamental things just to make sure that the photos turn out, decent and normal. And so all of the edits, I have done them as usual in Adobe Bridge because it's just really standard things. As usual, all of the shots that I've done will be put in the back of this video as a slideshow. And for now, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!